Hey guys, welcome to DreamCoin. It's Tyler again, and I just kind of wanted to go over real quick why the market appears to be crashing right now and why so many people are freaking out and why everything looks red coming into the morning of today. So just to get right into it real quick, this is kind of something that was led up over the last week or so. A lot of people were getting nervous about the Federal Reserve Chairman Jerome Powell speaking to Congress this week because a lot of people were weary of what direction the government might be going, whether it might be potentially doing a pullback and tightening restrictions on the economy and economic practices based on the bonds that have been seeing a rise in inflated prices. And a lot of people were just kind of, like I said, freaking out, anticipating that this might be a negative while he's talking to Congress and causing a concern for everybody with stock. Alongside those bond yields that are coming out, like I said, were inflation fears for the stock market and the economy in general, and there being a pullback because of that. And that was a lot of the major concern going into today with Jerome Powell speaking. It was at like 10 a.m. Eastern is when he was speaking to Congress, and he will be speaking to them tomorrow too. So this might have a repeat potentially in the morning where the stocks kind of dip a little bit right in the morning before the meeting, pending what he has to say. But based on today, from what he said, I don't see it having a huge impact going forward. And then as you can see coming back, the stocks did start coming back to where they were before market open today. And the NASDAQ did recover a lot of the losses that it had, as did the S&P 500 and everything else. As you can see here, the NASDAQ ended just slightly lower, and that's a pretty good sign considering it had a 3.5% loss at the very beginning of the day. As you can see from a lot of major stocks, and even like smaller stocks is dropping like crazy. Like I'm invested in ZOM, and ZOM went from like a 2.2 all the way down to like a 1.4 at one point for how fast it went down. All of that was just kind of influenced heavily by the anticipation of what Powell would be saying. To basically kind of summarize what Powell was saying to Congress when he was speaking, he implied that the higher bond yields, in his opinion and his team's opinion, seemed that they were more due to economic optimism, you know, with everything opening up again from COVID and all things along those lines, and not a factor of inflation. They feel that the inflation that's going on right now is fairly soft, is what he said in his words, and that they don't feel that there's any significant need for government intervention right now, which is a very good sign, especially for stock market, because, you know, when there's government restrictions and stuff like that, that usually affects the markets pretty heavily. There's going to be a good indication going forward that we are going to be coming back from that dip that we had crazy. And I expect throughout this week, everything kind of recovers to where it previously was, if not higher, especially going into next month coming up, the beginning of the next week. And I could see a lot of stuff potentially gapping up next Monday pretty heavily from these. But yeah, so overall, Powell seemed to be very optimistic about the economy. Doesn't feel like the government needs to intervene too much, and that everything is kind of correcting itself as it goes through, and that the government is going to be looking just for a strong push through of the economy coming back, rising off of the last year with COVID taking everything down for closure. Or, you know, like it's obviously last year when COVID first came out and affected the stock markets, everything crashed and like halved all the big stocks or more by like 50% or more for a lot of their decreases. And so everything's kind of recovering back to where it initially was with everything opening. And the Federal Reserve in general feels that, according to Powell, the economy as a whole, as well as the market, is in for a nice healthy ride going forward in the positive. Now coming over here, just kind of observing the NASDAQ since December, but I mean, really you can carry this forward, but since December, this has become very bullish for everything in general, especially with the market being crashed today. I think it's very important to look at NASDAQ, even though I generally wouldn't necessarily with the lower stocks that I buy into. But as you can see, it's been basically kind of since the beginning of December doing the same similar trend up with a hard drop off at the end of the month or beginning of the next month. And it's been doing cycles of this for the last 3 months. And this is following the exact same trend that it's been doing these last two. Granted, this looks like a little harder of a dip with everything happening just from the circumstances of Powell having to do his semi-annual meetings, which, you know, that's fine. That's an extremity for based on these. But again, this is looking to be an identical trend that's going forward here. So if NASDAQ keeps pushing forward at this similar trend, there is a chance that we see it peak above that $14,200 range going into next month around the midpoint, or towards, yeah, around the midpoint is usually when it's been peaking. This is going to look very good for all stocks in general and for the market being nice. This is why I'm not concerned about the dip too much today. I actually used it to kind of average down at some more of my positions on things like ZOM and things of that nature. As we go forward, this is looking to be a great setup going into next month. As you can see, it's already rebounding up for that nice new trend. I could see everything kind of recovering back up to like this $13,700 range, possibly in the next like week and a half, 2 weeks. By the end of the week, I think a lot of the stocks that plummeted are going to be back where they were pre-plummet, if not just like slightly below. And then going into next week, I do see everything turning into a more bullish trend as the market's been producing the past couple months. So this is what I'm going to be looking for going forward, and I felt it was just important to show you how the NASDAQ's been winding up to kind of calm a lot of those concerns a lot of people are looking at with the market today and fearing that there was like a market bubble that was burst or something along those lines. I just want to thank you guys so much for watching the video. You guys have been insane the last couple weeks on the support with the channel. We just hit over 300 subscribers the last couple days, and you guys seem to have been enjoying a lot of the new stock videos that I've been going over. I'm going to be looking to do another video on Senseonics coming out tonight to talk about that stock and why I think it's a good buy-in potentially going forward. And then I've got a couple more stock videos previewing good potential buys coming in throughout the week that I want you guys to be aware of. So just keep that in mind as we go forward, and for what you're going to be looking out for the channel. I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.